Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Easy Mini Painting with me, Christopher Ridge. So we're going to be moving on to more of the alternate sculpts from the Resident Evil 2 board game. In this case, we're going to be looking at Claire Redfield. Claire comes with a couple of different costumes right here. One is like a biker cowgirl kind of thing, and the other one is basically just the same thing, but she doesn't have the vest on, and she's got a grenade launcher instead of the pistol. So that's going to be painted pretty much the same way as the core miniature, but the other one we're going to do a little bit some different stuff with. In any case, why don't we just get started here? So the first thing that we started with was a layer of Barbarian Flesh, and that way we can just get the skin tone on there nice and evenly, and we don't need to worry about that afterward. As long as you've just got one single base coat of Barbarian Flesh on there, that'll serve as a good, primer coat, base coat, whatever you want to call it, and it'll also make it so that you don't have to worry about the flesh, which is what we would do for the first step anyway. After that though, I am just going to go ahead and knock out the shorts and the shirt on the biker one right here, because that's going to be pretty straightforward. And to do that, I'm going to do some Dragon Red. And you can just use whatever brush that you're comfortable with. You don't need to use a super detailed brush, but I would advise just using a smaller brush if possible, just because it might be kind of irksome, I don't know if that's a word or not, to get the shirt behind the jacket that the biker is wearing. Now, one thing that you may have noticed when I did the shorts right there is that I just avoided the belt. You can go over the belt, you can go around it like I did there. It doesn't really matter, whatever you prefer. The only reason for that is because we're going to go over all of the belts with a brown color later on. I also decided to try to leave the sort of like frayed edges of the shorts unpainted. I think that if you just sort of leave them that Barbarian Flesh color, that'll be just fine. All right, and then like I said, we're just going to do the same thing here too with the shirt on the biker right here, although that should take barely any time at all. There you go, easy as that. That's all that you really need to do for the biker right there. That's really the only sort of standard red color that's on there. So I'm going to rinse that brush off. And next up, I'm going to use some matte black, and we're going to go over several things, a lot more on the sort of like standard grenade launcher sculpt right there, but then we are also going to use them for the bases. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. I don't think that I did. So I left the bases unpainted just because I knew that I was going to be using black like this, for other things on the miniature. So I figured just for the sake of efficiency, it would be better just to go ahead and do the bases at the same time that I'm using black for everything else. And that way you just don't need to get out your black paint more than once. Alright, so the first thing that I think I'll start with are the gloves, because, similar to the original sculpt right here, she's got some black gloves, and we're just going to go ahead and knock them out. And we'll do that for both of them. It's the gloves on the biker model right there are a little bit less prominent, but she is still wearing gloves, I think, so we'll get those in a minute. But we'll just start with this one here. Alright, there we go. So now we just got the gloves on the standard sculpt right there. I also left the fingers unpainted, and that's just because I think that she's got like those sort of like fingerless gloves. So, you just kind of want to leave the regular fingers sort of fleshy. Alright, and then next up too, regarding this one, is that it's like a similar sort of thing to the original sculpt. However, she's not wearing that sort of like biker vest or whatever sort of vest. So she's just wearing that black undershirt. So I think that this sort of like, combat tank top is just going to be, well, it's not a tank top because I guess it has sleeves, but it's going to be all black. So let's just go ahead and paint it completely black. And it looks like it is a turtleneck, so make sure to just get around her neck a little tiny bit. If you can, too, try not to go over the sort of like holsters there. You see she's got some shoulder holsters there. If you can, try not to go on those, but, if that's proving to be a little bit too precise for you, don't worry about it because we can just go over them later on. It might just be a little bit easier when it has that base Barbarian Flesh color than it would be if it has black on it. But you can do whatever. You can just go over them right now, or you can go around them like I'm doing, just for the sake of a little bit of practice. Alright, there you go. So now you just got the black sort of combat shirt, maybe like an undershirt or Under Armour or something like that. And then we're also going to go over the shorts, or the bottom parts of the shorts here, the sort of like undershorts. Yeah, it's such a weird, maybe she's wearing like a dive suit underneath her actual, like, attire. Maybe that's what it is. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking when they were designing the original Claire Redfield costume. But whatever. And there we go. So now we've just got the undershorts there, or like I said, maybe the bottom part of the dive suit. Maybe it's a dive suit. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense to me. All right, and then next up, I am just going to go ahead and knock out the gloves on the biker outfit here. These should be a much less of a big deal just because they aren't quite as prominent. And again, I'm going to try to avoid going over the fingers. I'm just going to try to get the sort of like batting gloves look, or maybe shooting glove. I don't know. There you go, so you just kind of get the basic gist of the gloves on there. And after you get them, you're just going to go ahead and knock out the bases for them. And I am going to use a larger brush for that just to make it go a little bit faster. All right. And there you go, so now you just got some black bases on there, and that'll be pretty good for that, so I'm going to rinse off that brush. Next up, why don't we focus on the biker model a little bit here. Now, I think that her pants and her jacket are supposed to be made from like a different fabric, so they might be like a slightly different color, but I mean, I think that they're, you know, I think that a dark blue will kind of just work for both of them, and I don't think that it'll be a big deal. So I'm going to take out some deep blue, and we're going to use that as a base coat for the biker model, or for like the you know, the jacket and the pants, and I think that that will serve pretty well. And you know, again, just use like any sort of brush that's comfortable for you. You might use a smaller one just for the sake of, you know, being able to be a little bit more precise, but you don't need to use like a super fancy high detailed brush, just whatever's comfortable for you. When you are painting the jacket here, just try to be careful not to go over her left hand there, because her fingers are sort of like gripping the you know, the right side of her jacket. So just try not to go over those fingers, but that's pretty much the only big thing to look out for there. All right, now we've got the jacket, so I just want to, one thing that might also be kind of tricky is to just get like the inner sort of like layer of the jacket. As you can see, you see that little like flesh colored line right there, that's the lining of the jacket. Just make sure to try to get at it from, you know, all sides, and it might be kind of tricky, and this is probably why you want to use a smaller brush and not like a huge big base coat brush, but just be aware of that. There we go, that's much better. Yeah, just make sure to get it from both sides, so you've got it on the inside there and the inside here, although I could stand to get the line at the shirt right here a little bit better. Like so. Okay. And then just do the same thing with the pants. And there we go. So now we've just got the biker look completed right there. Just a nice dark blue color. And then when we go over it with, you know, our strong tone Quickshade later on, it's going to darken it up even further. So it'll have that real dark navy blue kind of look. All right, so I'm going to rinse that off. Next up, why don't we move on to the belts and the boots and all that kind of good stuff there. And we're going to use some Monster Brown for that. It's just kind of a nice standard brown color. It's not too dark, but it's not too light either. I'm going to start with the holsters on the original model, or on the like standard model right here, just because I want to be able to get out the more precise work while my brush point is still nice and fine. All right, there we go, and now we just got the belt on it. Come on, focus. I don't really like this new camera that I've got here. Okay, so yeah, that'll just get the belt on there just like that. And now we'll do the same thing with the belt on this other one right here. Easy as that. And now we're just gonna do the boots for both of them. We'll just use the same color for both pairs of boots. I think that will be just fine. All right, and there we go. So now we've got the belts and the boots and all of that, and we're actually coming up on the home stretch here. We don't have a lot more to do. So we're going to take out some lava orange, and we're going to use that for the hair color that she's got, because she's got really nice, bright, prominent, you know, Redfield red hair. So we're going to give her that red hair, and we're also going to get the flames that are on the side of that biker jacket there on the sleeves. They might be a little bit tricky, but just kind of do the best that you can. You'll be fine no matter what. I think I might even start with those actually, since my paint is still nice and nice and wet here since it's nice and fresh. And I will use a small, you know, detail brush right here just for the sake of trying to get a little bit more precise strokes and movements here. And you can, the flames are somewhat raised on the sculpt, so that makes it a little bit easier. But just sort of take your time and be careful and just have confidence to do it and you'll be just fine. So there you go, there's one sleeve down on there like that. Like I said, the flames are raised just a little bit, but it might still just be a little bit tricky. In any case, just take your time. Don't stress too much about it. As long as you just have the confidence to do it, it will look great, I promise you. All right, now we're just gonna do the same thing with the other sleeve. There you go, a little bit something like that. Again, don't stress yourself out over too much of the details, over you know, anything like that. That's just gonna make it feel even more strenuous and worrisome, and you don't want to feel that way. And as long as you just have the confidence to do it, it'll turn out fine. And it will also come together a lot better when we apply our strong tone at the end of it. So I'm just gonna go back to a not the detail brush, but just a normal smaller brush, and we're just gonna touch up her hair really quickly. All right, and now we've got their nice red hair there, and then we're just gonna get their firearms that they've got there, and then we're gonna do our shade, and then we're done. And to do their firearms, we're just gonna use our regular go-to gunmetal color. That'll be just fine. I'm gonna start with the little revolver right here for the biker sculpt first, just because it's a little bit smaller, a little bit more precise. I like to knock out the more precise stuff first, but that's a personal preference. And then just the grenade launcher here. I know that technically the stock of the grenade launcher is supposed to have like a wood grain finish, so you know you would use like a brown or something like that. But it's also just not super prominent, not prominent enough that I don't think it really warrants, you know, using multiple colors for it. And if you just want, you know, your good go-to table-ready miniatures, and I think that if you just use a single layer of gunmetal for the whole grenade launcher, that'll be just fine. All right. Oh, and then I'm also going to use gunmetal for the knife that she's got on the regular sculpt right here, on the grenade launcher sculpt. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and go over the whole knife with that gunmetal. I think we did the same thing for the core sculpt that comes with the core game here. Toki Wartooth, can I help you, kitty? Are you just passing by? If you're just passing by, that's fine, but, you know. All right, and there we go. So now we've got gunmetal for the guns, the knife. We've got basically everything that we want to get done in terms of details and major stuff there. So next up, we're going to take out some strong tone, and we're just going to go over the entirety of both miniatures with that strong tone, and that'll give us the shade and the contrast, and it'll fill in all the details, and it'll bring them all together completely. You can just use some big fat no-name brush right here. You don't need to worry about details. All right, you can even get like just a little bit of water onto the tip of your brush just like that. Just to water it down a little tiny bit, nothing too major, just a little bit. All right, and then we'll just go over the whole thing here. All right, so there you go. You've got a nice layer on the biker model right there. And as it dries too, it's gonna get rid of that, you know, shiny, glossy look to it, obviously. And then the other thing that I'm gonna do too, and I won't bother showing this on camera because I've done it multiple times and it's not a super interesting step, is that I am gonna go over everything with a matte varnish as well. And that will just kind of add an extra layer of protection to the miniatures and just add a little bit more to the lifespan. And it can also just sort of help to saturate the colors a little bit more. Now, some people don't like that. Some people like for the paints to have the exact same color as you put them on there, and putting a varnish over it can actually alter the colors a little bit. I don't mind that so much though, but it is something that's just worth noting. So I am gonna go over everything with a matte varnish when we're done, and then that'll be it. Oh, and in case I didn't make it terribly clear either, if you do go over them with a matte varnish, make sure that the Quickshade is completely dry first. So if you do want to use varnish, apply this Quickshade, let it completely dry, and then you can apply the varnish, and then you're done. And there you go, everybody. That's it for the alternate sculpts for Claire Redfield from the Resident Evil 2 board game. And I've got the original model that comes with the core game on the right side there, just so you can kind of compare the two of them there. Yeah, if you want, you might take the biker one right there, and you might just put like a little bit of, like pure red or something like that on the sleeves, if you just want to brighten them up a little bit, or if you want the contrast to be a little bit more striking compared to the hair. But yeah, that's up to you. I mean, that's a small enough step that I'm not gonna bother with that here. Again, though, if you do want to brighten it up a little bit, just a little bit of pure red, just kind of touch that up on the sleeves if you want to bring those sleeves out a little bit more. But that'll be just about it. So thank you everybody for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and throw it a like. If you want to see the rest of the alternate sculpts from the Resident Evil 2 board game, you can subscribe to the channel. I've got the alternate sculpt for Robert Kendo and Ada Wong coming up, and then I think I've got one more little batch of zombies, and that will pretty much be it. Don't really know what I'll move on to after that, but I'll think of something. In any case, I won't take up any more of your time, so thank you again so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.